Hello all, welcome to Ritter Runs Far. This is the first video in my series where I intend to talk about what it's like to run as an adult, as a professional, and the hows and whys of it all. Running is not something that I've ever really gotten good at, and if I'm honest, I know I'm never going to win a race. It's the stuff that comes with it that's really caused me to fall in love with it. Let me tell you how I got started and share some tips on how you can get started too. My first recommendation is for you to investigate your reasons why. What's your purpose? What is your motivation behind wanting to start running? For me, I started because I wanted to lose weight, which is a goal of any woman in their 30s. I was 36 when I started, and I had just gotten a new pair of shoes, and I thought this was a good excuse to go try them out. I also didn't want to pay for a gym. I didn't have the extra money to invest in any fitness programs. And lastly, I was single. I had some time to fill. It was the summertime. Summertime was approaching. I was broke. I was at home, and I was looking to fill that free time. Say, I'm not a runner. I have never been one. I don't even really like it much, but everything that came along with it was what I fell in love with. My second tip is for you to find things that you like about your run. So second, I've found that this time alone led me to learn new things, and that being outside, I had all this time to think, and it started to get a little bit lonely. So when I started running in the summer of 2013, Game of Thrones was popular on HBO, so I started listening to the books, all the George R.R. Martin books, and those are some heavy books. They're 30 hours long, but the authors, the readers are so good and dynamic and just fun. So I would look forward to my runs because I had these stories to listen to, and they entertained me throughout. When I got finished with the Game of Thrones, because I eventually did, believe it or not, I transitioned to True Blood, and those were fun too, just fantasy books. That got me out of my own head and away from the distraction of the basic suck of the run. And since it was summertime in South Carolina, it was pretty wretched, but that inherent suck kind of went away because I was able to focus on the stories. Tip number 2 is to find things that you enjoy about your run. I was also running in a beautiful community. I ran in Sun City, which is a retirement community in our area that is just beautiful landscaping and lots of things to look at, so good distractions. My third tip is to invest in proper clothing. Yes, I thought that running would be a cheaper route to getting in shape than joining a gym, but after a period of time and kind of learning that I was going to stick with it, I found that I liked the results and that I was going to continue. So I made 2 essential purchases, and those were quality sports bras and second, quality shoes. Those cute shoes ended up being too small for me, and they hurt my feet in the long run. I ended up going to an actual running store and buying shoes that were a better fit. Now, the sports bras, kind of without saying, it's very uncomfortable if you're not running with a quality bra, and spending the money on these 2 items was a very important part of my transition. My next tip, number 4, is to start small. You don't have to sign up for a marathon on day 1. You don't have to sign up for a marathon ever if you don't want to. As a matter of fact, it never needs to be a part of the factor. What I did in my first month was, first off, I started walking, and I realized that I would get done a lot faster if I started running. So eventually I started picking up the pace. But in that time, I signed up for my first 5K. My first 5K was maybe 2 weeks after I started running. It was in May of 2013, and it was a local 5K that was a color run. And I went all by myself and completed the run. It was a lot of fun. Shortly after that, I signed up for a 10K, which was in July of that year. Same story, showed up by myself and had a great time. So I just kept finding ways to challenge myself with these early days of my run. This was the catalyst to lead me to group runs, and that is my next tip. But the point here is, even if you don't ever intend on running double digits, you just got to start small, and you got to start somewhere. So I recommend, if you've never done this before, starting with walking and just walk regularly and consistently, and it'll lead to better results once you get comfortable with walking. And maybe you'll find yourself thinking, I'd get done a lot faster if I just started running. The wear and tear on your body might be too much for you, but initially, any move forward is forward progress that's positive. So just start somewhere. Make that commitment to yourself, follow through with it, and you'll find that you start feeling great. So with step 4 being start small, my tip number 5 is to find a run community. After my 10K and discovering that this was something that I wanted to stick with, I ended up finding a run community. So my first 3 months after choosing this hobby, it was spent alone. And I ran every other morning in the summer of 2013, and I ran my long runs on Sundays. And my long runs at that point were nothing over 7 miles, I'd guess. But shortly after I began, I ran into a friend at a race in August who was running in a nighttime run fitness program. So she invited me to come along, and I did. So I would drive 20 minutes up the road, run store in Charlotte, and we would run for an hour, and then we would go home. So in this time period also, I didn't have a race in mind. I didn't have any really goal in mind. I was just running because I wanted to stay fit. I made a friend who had an extra entry into the Army 10 miler, which was in October of 2013, and it's in Washington, D.C. So I agreed. We ended up training for that and completing it. So that was my first double-digit long run and organized run of fitness. Now, it's one I recommend too because there's tons of crowd support and it's a lot of fun. For me, finding the run community was an absolute game changer and is primary reason why I'm still running today, because it transitioned that solo activity, which was quite helpful and meditative, into something that was less isolated and something that was shared and is now a social activity with dear friends. And this is really the appeal for me for running. So when I say I don't really like running, the extras is what I like. That's what I like. It's getting together with people and sharing the trials and tribulations of life. And I've been through so much with my running friends and partners. And so that is one of my biggest suggestions, is to find people to share this journey with. My last tip is to consider the health benefits. Now that I've been running for a while, I can acknowledge the incredible boosts that my heart has gotten, not to mention my overall health. My motivations for running really came as a result of my over-anxious mind. Before I started running, I was on anti-anxiety medication. I was prescribed Ambien, of all things, because I just couldn't sleep at night. Like, I would lay down and my head would just not stop. I would ruminate over things I should have done, things I have to do, what I should have said, every night. So I just could not sleep, or I would fall asleep and then I would be up from 2 a.m. until it was time to get up. So every time I laid my head on the pillow, it was just a constant wheel. But adding running and consistent exercise has helped quiet that, and it doesn't silence my anxious thoughts, but it definitely makes them quiet. So that, along with an improved spiritual life, have contributed to my overall comprehensive health benefits, not to mention my addiction to all things endorphins and dopamine related. So running and exercise has truly contributed to my mental health. So that's my summary of how to get started. To recap, define your reason why, find the things you like, invest in the proper clothing, start small, be happy with small, find a run community or a partner. In addition to starting small, another key thing that I try not to do is compare myself to other runners, because, being 50 years old, I know 60-year-olds who are qualifying for Boston. I know people, of course, who are younger who are qualifying for Boston. I am not going to qualify for Boston, and I'm okay with that. I figure that any day that I get out there is a win, and that is enough for me. I know also that people my age, most are not able to do the things that I do. So I'm incredibly grateful to be able to move my body consistently. And I know that if you commit to this, you can do it too. And those that share that journey with me, I love you. And anybody who wants to go for a run, let's do it. In the comments, you can let me know if you want to go for a run. Speaking of comments, like and subscribe to my channel. Help me monetize my masters. Help me get this channel rolling. I have a goal to get 1,000 subscribers by August, and I really want you along with me on that journey. My next episode, I intend to share with you my Black Mountain Monster and training for that. So come along with me and make it happen. Thanks so much.